panel discussion of our Wilson Basketball Family Reunion activation here at the March Madness Fan Fest. So our final discussion here is on life after basketball. So we got Tiffany Aidoo right here. Tiffany, thank you for hanging out with us today. I know you've been with us all week, kicking it. Yes.
It's been a great time.
So truly the Wilson fam. Our guy Chris Brickley, fresh off the plane with it, Wilson ad staff member. Thanks for pulling up. My guy Brian Randolph over here, reaching for the Stars Foundation. Brian, I know you're hiding, man, but thank you for joining us. And then Brianna Salvatore-Dueck. Yes, we got her. So we nailed it right before, too. And you're part of the Wilson family as well. You've been hanging out with us this weekend, too. I know we got a chance to get some buckets yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
Well, you got the buckets. I just try to do my best. But we appreciate all of you coming together and hanging out, talking about life after basketball. And I think, my first question off the top is, Tiffany, I know for you specifically, like playing at Tulane, then having the graduate assistant opportunity, and now being able to call games on ESPN+. That's that full circle moment. What's that just been like?
It's been absolutely incredible. And to be honest with you and all of you, I fell in love with the game in a different way when I became an analyst. When I was playing, you're putting in your blood, sweat, and tears. You're going to school. You're doing all these various different types of things. And I thought I knew the game very well, but when I became an analyst, I became very responsible not only to the coaches but to the players' stories and how I called the games. And so there was a level of intentionality and a level of research and understanding that I had about the game that I didn't have before. So it's been such an incredible journey, and I think if I had to share anything else, student athletes oftentimes feel like they don't have the experience, but all of that experience, all of the hard work that you put in can pay off for anything. And so I didn't know that, and becoming an ESPN analyst has been that for me, and it's been absolutely incredible.
Do you think having played the game kind of gave you a little bit leg up over maybe some other colleagues or whatever the case may be, because you kind of understand it a little bit at a deeper level?
It's very intimate. Some of the nicks and crooks. It was interesting because there was a game that I was calling, and my play-by-play, we were having a little bit of banter, and I told him, I was like, I bet you they're running a free throw scheme right now, and he's like, oh, I've never thought about that. And so there are things like that you just know about the game. You can introduce to people, and they get to see the game in a different way. And so that's the thing that I'm most excited about, is be able to bring all of the things that I've learned through my playing experience, even as a GA, and now through just analyzing and seeing the sport differently as an analyst.
For sure. And Chris, I know you're in a unique spot too, because coming from Louisville and then having an opportunity to train some of the best basketball players in the world. So what's that mental component though too? Because life, right after you're done with your collegiate careers, I know there's not always the profession, right? There's not always the pros waiting for you. So what conversations are you having sometimes with the guys, letting them know, hey, regardless of the route, there's still a way to be involved with the game in some capacity somewhere?
It's something that, inspires me every day, is just kids out there. The percentage of basketball players that play Division I is slim, and then the percentage that actually use basketball as a job is slim. But, I try and be the example that you could look at. And, I didn't make the NBA. I played college basketball, and then now I use it as a job to, travel the world and do cool things like this. I just try and lead by example and just show that I've used the game to, be able to feed my family and stuff like that. It's pretty cool.
Brianna, you're in a unique position too, because I know you played at UC Davis, then you had the opportunity to play overseas. So what was that moment for you where it was like, hey, I know right now you're doing consulting work. So what was that turning point for you where you were like, hey, I'm going to hang the shoes up, so to speak, on that professional level maybe, but I'm still going to find my way to be involved with the game and explore my other endeavors?
Yeah, so for me, actually, I got the chance to play professionally in Switzerland, in the city of Lausanne, which is really an incredible city if you're thinking about life after basketball, because you have all of the sporting federations are headquartered there, the International Olympic Committee. I was also really passionate about international development and international relations. So it was this awesome moment. I'd had my 4th knee surgery, and so I was starting to think through, can I use my passion for sport? Can I use my passion to have an impact in this world in order to kind of take that next step and think through life after basketball? So that's when I decided to pursue my master's in international development. I worked at the United Nations for a bit, but it was awesome to be able to take that same passion that we have for sport, for competition, for the love of team, and funnel that and fuel that in the next step of my career. So it was actually a pretty natural progression, I would say.
For sure. And Brian, man, I feel like your story and your journey, just from, I know we've had the chance to connect just over the years, and it's so cool how it's coming full circle now, but your experiences after the game of basketball. I know literally hurricane season is probably the best place to start. For those of you that don't know, the movie Hurricane Season was depicted based off of the team that Brian played on. So, but I know that experience must have just been surreal.
Man, this has been great. First of all, thank you guys for having me. It's been a great feeling. It's a hell of an adjustment from basketball to acting. It's very, very interesting, but they take a lot of breaks. In basketball, you don't take breaks. Of course, you know about that. But just the understanding of where basketball can take you, the things that we've done with it, and you use that to your advantage of using it in a movie setting, industry setting. You could take those tools that you learn, you could use it anywhere. So after that, I took it and I started my own foundation. Didn't want to do the typical coach type guy. Guys get into coaching, that's a wrap. And I was like, nah, I can do something different. And I wanted to do something different, so Reaching for the Stars is what I started. And you know, the financial literacy we teaching the kids, the life skills we teaching the kids, is so much important than just really getting with the game of basketball. But the work ethic I learned from it is impeccable. So I wouldn't take it from anything, and I'll take that and move to the next point. But you know, the movies, I'll be back in the movies soon. But I just love Reaching for the Stars, speaking to kids, telling them about my journey, telling them about decision making is very, very important to your career.
And I feel like each of you have had those opportunities to do that. And whether it's been, you know, to give back or to speak to the youth, and they can look at you and say, hey, I see that while maybe they're not playing in the NBA or the WNBA, they still use the game of basketball as a tool to get them as far as possible in life, to achieve a different dream. Yeah. Do you feel like when you get the opportunity now, what is that like now when you could go and tell a kid like, hey, this is my story, but here's still a way you can stay involved with the game at a high level? Yeah.
I'll say it's been interesting because I think that's how Brian and I are connected, and then I know that we were just talking about that. But you know, I work with Laureus Foundation USA, and a big part of what we do is we use sport as a tool for development and social change. And so oftentimes people are talking about, yeah, there's this intrinsic value to what sport can do for a young person, but they can't identify the thing, right? And so, you know, a part of our work is to really emphasize and amplify what organizations like Brian can do for young people, and people can actually connect the dots of like, oh, well, if I'm in school and I can, you know, think creatively about this, I can also do that on the court when I'm, you know, trying to learn this new play. And you also just develop different types of learning skills. So there's so many different ways that sport can be that tool and that vessel for a young person to just really grow and develop.
For sure.
Sports is, you know, I don't remember a lot of my like elementary school teachers and high school teachers, but I remember all my basketball coaches. So I think, you know, it leaves like a stain on kids. When you're growing up, you know, you remember what your coach told you. You remember basketball camps that you went to. So it's just a big influence, and just having that influence, I feel like is a really cool feeling.
For sure.
Oh man, definitely. I can remember some of the elementary teachers. My first coach, yeah, he was very, very passionate. But sometimes as a kid, you just don't know your potential and what things can take you. So as he was talking, I was just blessed. Honestly, during my career of playing basketball, I was blessed with had great leaders. And it's really hard to find great leaders like Brick, like Tiffany, you know, like it's just hard to find great leaders. And sometimes the balls just roll your way and they bounce your way. So I was fortunate to have that, and I have an understanding of it. And also I'm able to give it back to the young kids in our community and around the world.
Yeah, so similar to Tiffany, I actually work for an impact-focused sports agency called 17 Sport, and a lot of what we do is we work with different stakeholders across the sports industry, like the NFL, Adidas, UEFA, and we help them to craft their brand strategies or their sponsorship strategies in order to actually leave a positive legacy in communities. And so it's really incredible because through that work, we're actually able to see kids' lives touched through sports. And obviously we all here have seen that impact in our own life, but to be able to see a tangible difference and see some big brands stepping up like Adidas and investing in getting 50,000 more girls into sport over the next 5 years who otherwise wouldn't be in sports. It's really, really exciting to see the power of sports. And then our company, we've actually developed a tool to measure the impact of sport and put a dollar amount to it. So it's called social return on investment. And that's been really cool because I think that unlocks resources to sport and impact programs. But yeah, it's really, I mean, not, yeah, it's really, really incredible, the impacts of sport.
Yeah.
And going back to the mentality part, I think mental health, of course, is such a big thing, right? And I know when you're playing a game of basketball, that sometimes that can be used as an outlet, as a way to, escape kind of the day-to-day of what may be going on. And I know, Chris, you kind of alluded to it when we talked about the mentality of knowing what's next, right? Life after basketball. Do you remember what that moment was like for each of you? I know still involved in a space in some capacity where maybe it was a little scary because you're used to doing something for 15 plus years, but then that new chapter became available. Whoever wants to tackle it, yeah.
Yeah, it was really hard.
Yeah.
When I just remember before my last game, I think that's when it really hit me. I was sitting in the airport, and I think I just blurted out to my coach, just I couldn't even control it. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I think she heard me. And so one of the most important things that really helped me transition after, I played basketball in college, I felt like I lost my identity. I didn't have my team. That was my family. I mean, we're talking here at the table feeling bonded by ball, but I felt like I lost that bond when I stopped dribbling the basketball. But because I had the greatest mentors, like my coach, and, I had different peers and people I was able to develop relationships with, I was able to truly reconnect and reinvigorate how I'm going to repay this journey through sport, because I'm still involved with it. And I think that that's been one of the most important things. But it was very hard, not easy.
Yeah, I think my story is a little unique. I kind of came to a reality that I wasn't going to make the NBA. And I was a senior at Louisville. I knew I didn't have a pro career. Maybe I could have gone overseas, but I knew that's a tough journey. So for my internship, my second semester, I worked for Coach Pitino. So I was a player, and I was also doing my internship at the same time. So I was kind of just trying to set myself up for my next job. So I went through that. Still, when the last game ended, I still had that feeling like, oh wow, I'm no longer a basketball. For me, I was no longer going to be a basketball player anymore, and I need to. So am I going to be a coach? Am I going to be a trainer? And, that was a kind of unique feeling. And, and then, I got into coaching. But I say all that to say, I think it's important, well, I have a question for you. So when did you come to when did you find an answer for what you were going to do? So your last game, boom, it ended. And then how long did it take you to figure out?
I'm still figuring it out. I don't think you really ever find an answer for that. I luckily was still able to stay in the sport as a graduate assistant, and that gave me a grace period. And I don't know if all student athletes have that opportunity, but I had a grace period to stay connected to the sport and figure it out with the family that I knew.
That's cool.
That's
big.
That was really big.
Oh, man. I didn't know it was my turn. I was so into the conversation. I was just like,
hey, we can keep it going. It's good. It's all good dialogue. Yeah.
Life after basketball, man. As a 18-year-old boy, young man, I should say, in the city of New Orleans, got a chance to win an ESPY award at that age. And 2 years later, we did Sports Illustrator, things of that nature. So I just was like, man, this has all come from playing basketball. What else I need to do? I knew I wanted to make it to the NBA, but didn't quite have the right road and had the right training and preparation. And this guy definitely next to me understands what it takes for the consistency of training. And you might not have the skills, but you have to have your body condition. You have to eat the right foods. Like I was in NBA workouts with a team. I wouldn't say, but I was in workouts and I was like gassed. And because I wasn't eating the right foods. I was just trying to eat. You're hustling, you're grinding, and sometimes that can take a toll of your dreams sometimes. But you don't let it take control of your life. So that's what I did. Got back in school. I got my degree, and I'm in business now. The transition it's a horrible feeling, especially the basketball we watch these days. It's not like old school. It's like I foul, like okay, cool, get up. Foul, and then you roll over. It's like, hold up. Let's say action, stop the camera. So it's like one of those things that make you, looking like, I'm like right now, man, I could get in shape right now and play right now, easy. Just because the knowledge and the understanding of the game, I don't have to be like all quick, fast, but understanding how to get around picks, understanding how to, and I just use all those tactics and methods for life. And me starting my foundation, I'm able to break off into other businesses like real estate. I do, and like my cleaning business as well. So there's so many things you can do. Basketball gives you so many tools, and you got to be aware on the court at all times. So that's what the kind of tools I use for life after basketball. But it's a quite transition from doing a movie and doing this, and I'm like, what is this? You know? So it's interesting, but I think you got to make the best of what God bless you with. So that's what I did.
A bit already about my transition from college to life after basketball, but I would say, yeah, again, I think to what everyone's spoken to, I still struggle sometimes to come to terms with, okay, I'm not a professional basketball player, or I don't play at the college level, because so much of my identity, I think, was in that. But I really do see the blessing of what basketball was able to bring to me and a lot of the tangible skills that I have because of it. And if I think, we were just talking in the car about some of the things that I learned, including like, we learned how to take an L well playing sports. And I don't mean just in like the wins and the losses from the season, because maybe you're on a winning team, you're undefeated, okay. No, I mean like day in and day out at practice, in that 3-on-3 drill, in that 5-on-5 drill, you're taking a loss and you're figuring out how to bounce back and come back and win. And I think that resilience is just one example of some of the incredible tools that I've been blessed to have taken with me from college basketball. And that really, so I see that, I think that transition, although it was difficult and still is taking place, like I'm just so thankful and blessed for all the gifts that have come with it and the lessons learned that, yeah, I think it's pretty awesome.
And it's neat to hear life lessons based off what you said in resiliency, because I think often to the public, right, we look at athletes as role models and they have all the answers, right? You know what you're doing, where it's like, wow, how, you know, they got their life together, this is how it has to be. And it's not saying that you don't, but it's also, we're all human beings, right? Everybody's a human being. So a big thing, a part of that is mentorship. And I know you mentioned Coach Patino and mentioned other members, but, you know, coaches or whatever the case may be, but how pivotal of a role did mentorship play in that adjustment for each of you?
Back around the table.
Yeah.
It was crucial.
Yeah.
I think my mentorship, at least the way I started to see my mentorship develop, was when I was younger. My brother started coaching me. My brother's only 8 years older than me. He started coaching me when I was 10. So that means like during his critical times where he can be the most free person, you're like entering your adult life, you're going to college, he was traveling from LSU to Slidell, which is about an hour drive, to coach me. So it was from that point on where I started to see his level of investment in me, which made me believe in myself, allowed me to set expectations higher for myself. And I think through that, I've been able to, I think, have that as added value for the way I show up in the world. And so I mentor collegiate student athletes. We've had a couple of them on the panel, you know, Dinah Jones and Moon Urson. And, you know, I truly believe in just being able to support and like connect. And like really, I think essentially what you're mentioning, like nobody understands what it means to not touch the line and have to run another down and back, or, you know, you fall and you get injured and you got to bounce back or whatnot. No one understands that. So that community and the people who can mentor and like show up for you in an understanding is powerful.
Yeah, I think mentorship is huge, and it can come in all different forms. I've been like super blessed to have like Phil Jackson and Rick Pitino like in my professional career be my mentors, and Rick Pitino has been more of like the basketball side, and Phil Jackson's been more of the I'm going to teach you how to deal with people. I'm going to teach you how to talk to people. I'm going to teach you how to deal with players off the court and just little stuff like that. And yeah, mentorship is everything. I feel like we're all here today because someone mentored us and taught us kind of how to be and how to act in life. And yeah.
Oh man, started a mentorship program because of the mentors I had. It's a quick story. I was like, you know, like Tiffany was saying, you get lost. I had a moment where I got lost one time, and I was just reflecting on some of the behavior and things I was doing as a player, and I could avoid it. And I remember crying, calling one of my coaches. I was crying on the phone. I was like, man, I apologize. And the importance of what he gave me, the structure, the discipline is so important at a young age, because some people don't experience success till they're like 40, 45, and then when they get it, it's like crazy. And I'm glad I was able to be successful at a young age. It's a remarkable feeling to have that mentorship day in and day out. And I could call on those guys every day. Every day I call them and I bug them about something because I'm steady trying to learn. So, reaching for the stars is just what it is. You're not just reaching for one, you're reaching for all. Well, as many as you could get, really. Yep, so mentorship is very, very important, man. You can learn something from anybody. I learned a lot from Tiffany. I was doing the program breakdown. Tiffany like, Brian, you got to do, no, you got to write. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to go back and fix it. I'm going to call you back. So it's a lot more in depth, but I learned a lot from that piece because it breaks it down doing grants. Oh, my God. It breaks it down from a whole nother level. But you get to understand how to track that data and track it at a point to where you could be, you're being successful. No one can take it away from you. For sure. Yep.
I love what you just said. So one of my biggest mentors is my former basketball coach at UC Davis, Jennifer Gross. She's absolutely incredible, and I think as I was transitioning, she really encouraged me to just kind of leverage those skills that I learned and take those to the next level. She gave me a lot of confidence. And then I also see mentorship as like you can have many different types of mentors. So my CEO at our company now, Neil Duffy, he's a huge mentor to me. Day in and day out, we work together, and he provides feedback for me. And I think another thing, as athletes, you learn to be coachable, and so we kind of seek feedback. And mentorship is such a great way to get that tangible feedback. And then in the same respect, like it's really important, I think, to also be giving back, like Tiffany said, and mentoring that next generation. So that's something I try to do as well, and keep my eyes open for that.
Sure, brick by brick, right? And now you get to be in those shoes right now to be that person. So I got the cue. We do got to wrap up, but I do want to ask, because we are in New Orleans, so home state vibes. All right. I'm gonna end with you, Brian, because I got to go back to the hurricane season just for the story point. Okay. But Tiffany, I want to ask, this moment here, having this March Madness experience in the city, it's pretty electric. It's like my third time in New Orleans, but just going around and like seeing like all the vibes and the energy. And 70,000 people into that what's the Caesar Superdome now, right? I got to say that correctly.
They changed it up on us.
Yes. So what is that like, just seeing having that here in the hometown?
Honestly, it's so reviving. Yeah. It's reviving because we haven't had any major sporting events since 2017 in New Orleans, and so to see all these amazing people here, to be sitting at this table with you, I just really feel like this is family. So it's just really exciting.
That's the plan, family reunion.
It is
Founded
so
by
good.
Paul, so we make it happen. Brian, I got to ask, man, because, and the last one, so before this, as I mentioned, Tyrus Thomas, Louisiana native, he was in here on an earlier conversation. He talked about that LSU run, and he talked about how that even though they didn't win the championship, that was during the stretch around Katrina when everything was happening, right, tragedy. But the game of basketball was an outlet to the community. And people, while all this was going on, this was like a moment when LSU was on, people were engaged, and they loved that. So even though they didn't win the championship, they had already won. They felt like they won. And I know you went through a very similar experience through high school days. So what was that like to literally be going through that similar route and leading the team to a state championship?
I don't know. If it weren't for the game of basketball, I don't know if I'd be sitting here right now, honestly.
Yeah.
That's just the guy, honest truth. Decisions, man. Real quick rundown, it was 2 weeks in school, then Katrina hit, then I had to go to Houston. Went up there for a month. I hated it. Told my dad, I'm not going back to practice because I feel like the coach is not giving me a fair shot because, I had dreads in my head. So I'm like, are you, profiling me or what's the deal? Like, I know I can play, so I'm just like, I was confused at the point, so I told him I wasn't going back to practice, so my dad was like, all right, cool. Got back here, I was sleeping on the floor, and none of it bothered me. I was sleeping at my uncle's house. I slept at my aunt's house. I was back and forth. Then I finally got a car. My daddy got me a car. I was driving my grandmother's car to school. So the transition, I didn't know at that time how hard it was, especially on my parents. One is in one state, one is in another state, and everything was just like so separate. But I never let anything bother me. I always had basketball. And a lot of people, I don't know the impact until this day like really looking at it. Like I was just like, man, as long as I got ball, I'm good. And you know, people go through a lot, and during that time, it gave us a lot of hope. And me just being focused on my goal is just winning. I didn't know it gave the whole city a lot of hope. And man, it was tough. Now that I look at it, but as a kid, you like, man, I don't care. I'm just sleeping. I eat chicken every night. I was like going. I was eating late at night. I was like, I don't care. You know, I was made sure I didn't miss practice. I was at practice every day. But just the transition of wanting to win in life, if you got that will, you got that drive, you're going to win, no matter what. You know what I mean? You're going to win. Just be patient and wait on God, you're going to win. Guaranteed. So hurricane season is a blessing. Thank you guys for the support. But definitely looking to get back into more and getting a better partnership with you guys. Yep.
For sure. And I want to thank each of you for hanging out with us around the family reunion at the table. We got to kick it. Chris, I know we just an all-star, man, so we're glad we got to bring the vibes back here as well. And truly, and truly basketball continues, right? We're all bonded by ball. So appreciate each of you. Thank you to everybody that's kicked it with us all weekend long from the family reunion activation here at FanFest. Lock in with us at Wilson Basketball. And the next stop, I don't know yet, but it's coming. We got to take it on the road somewhere. It's going to rock. So see you guys next time.